everyone, and welcome to yet another exciting week in the world of currency trading, at least if we focus purely on currencies for this particular video. So what I'm going to do is evaluate, first of all, very briefly, the US dollar, just seeing that largely it's been encountering, and this goes back actually certainly until September 2018, the US dollar has been range bound, or at least certainly sliding to the upside, strengthening, but also encountering some strong resistance. If we look at it on the daily, there's no clear direction. If I now switch across to the euro, so what I want to do here is compare the euro. Obviously to that, we can see that again, similar to that, the euro has been generally sliding lower at least over the last 12 months, sitting at some key levels, and also not really having or exhibiting a clear, strong sense of direction. So where it really gets interesting, and of course part of this video is really to discuss what's going to be happening this week. So of course we have a potential high impact events occurring in Parliament in the UK. We do have a very high probability that Boris Johnson is going to be voted in as the next Prime Minister, which means that he would be taking office this week, and so this is a very high probability event, and of course this also is going to be putting the UK slightly on edge, and this might then demonstrate itself in the GBP charts and their interaction with other currencies. And so it isn't really just about the fact that if Boris Johnson is then elected, it's also how he then chooses to set his tone going forward. He has currently expressed a determined line in the sand saying that come October 31st, Brexit will happen, whether it's a deal or no deal. And so really what the markets tend to respond to the most is uncertainty. And so the more uncertainty that is introduced through the various aspects of the coming week, that is going to it's going to display its reaction in the charts. And so, as I said, more uncertainty would imply a weaker GBP. And if we look at it overall, we could see that generally speaking, the pound has been weakening quite a bit, certainly since the beginning of the year, and has been heading lower. It has been coming down towards these key levels. And if I just switch us over to a monthly time frame and then just expand the chart so we can get a sense of it, you can actually see that we've headed down as low as 1.2 in the past. And certainly there is the very strong possibility, if we look at the current bearish monthly candle, that we could find ourselves breaking through this level of support closer to the 1.23 mark and heading lower down towards 1.21 and 1.2. It certainly is a possibility. Should there be any sort of possibility of positive outcomes or positive sentiment, hopeful sentiment that comes out of the next few days with regards to the results of the votes, with regards to the sentiment of the tone of the language of the parties, we're likely to then see some response where we see that the GBP potentially starts to strengthen. So if we just look at it here in isolation, we have got pretty much a downtrend in play. And price is going to be focusing on and reacting around these key levels on both the daily as well as the weekly and monthly time frame. So I'll just put this back to that weekly time frame. And so this is something that I'll be just paying attention to. Again, we've got that weekly downtrend, we've got a daily downtrend, and shorting opportunities is a possibility from a technical perspective, but there is that higher risk in terms of that. So also just comparing this then let's have a look at GBP against some of the other pairs. We can see that recently the euro has increased obviously in strength over the pound, and we can see if we look at it on a weekly perspective, we can see the price has just been heading continually higher. We had a strong rejection candle last week. It is encountering some strong resistance at 0.9. And it's certainly overdue for a bit of a retracement on that time frame on that level. Now, so that's something that I'll be keeping an eye on, certainly due for a deeper retracement, but it is looking inherently as though the euro is strengthening against the pound. Where it gets really interesting is if we then look at the GBP pairs against other currency pairs. You can see if we look here at pound Swissy, it's looking particularly bearish. That's a very nice, healthy, bearish downtrend. It's also looking quite bearish on that weekly, a little bit overextended. And then if I look at pound yen, so what I'm going to do is come back to these and actually activate the systems, the ProFX strategy, so we can see how that's responding to this. Just highlighting here, pound yen is also heading lower, currently testing this level of resistance and actually forming, and it's early in the day, but forming a bearish rejection candle, rejecting that level of support and resistance. So it's finding some strong resistance there. Pound CAD also showing a strong trend to the downside, also producing recently a bearish rejection candle, also looks very keen on heading lower. So all of this, even though we did have a strong overextended and weekly rejection of the lows, we are overextended. It's just a long run to go without any kind of a retracement. It still continues to look quite bearish. Let's have a look at pound Aussie. Now Aussie and Kiwi are bucking the trend a little bit, but you can even see here price action is nice and bearish. We've got that strong, clear momentum, bearish momentum on pound Aussie. It also looks as though it wants to head lower on the weekly. So technically the charts are very bearish, and they are giving off signals that they intend to continue lower. This is pound Kiwi as well, also looking very bearish, and also looks as though it very much wants to continue lower. So what I'm going to do here is just go back to GBP. I'll also look at sterling, so let's look at cable, and then what I'm going to do is just activate that strategy so we can see how the strategy then responds to that. So just going to select that strategy and then just double click this and apply it, bring it onto the charts, and just have a look at how the system is viewing that. So currently we aren't in a blue column at the moment, but you can see actually the most recent signal was a sell signal. That is still technically the trade that we're in. If you took that, if we go across and compare this to pound Swissy and let that data load up, you can see there's also been some very good, very nice sell signal produced back in May. That is still technically open. So this was a beautiful trade if you were part of the program back then. We've got pound yen. All right, so pound yen had a bit more of a conflict on its higher time frames, and is potentially, when we get that conflict, if for example we are range bound on a much higher time frame, we might find that there are conflicting signals. Okay, so although it is generally heading lower, it has also been giving us some conflicting signals. And again, pound CAD here also looking nice, very nice sell signal heading back to May as well, and also generally producing lower highs and lower lows on the monthly, but you can see it's heading into some strong historical support levels. So it is going to be very interesting to see how the market reacts to that, because it is certainly testing the limits of the support levels, historical support levels. Here we go, we've actually had a sell signal on pound Aussie back in June, 26th of June, and then we've got pound Kiwi. We can see also a sell sig generated on the 24th. So pretty much generating really good solid trade opportunities in the recent months, and also all at least following that direction of that bearish trend. Some really good in terms of pip gathering opportunities, but also profitable trading opportunities. And what we can see here, which is important to note, is that there is an agreed trend across all the GBP charts. They're all bearish. They're all looking fairly bearish to the downside on multiple time frames. So this week is going to be interesting as we approach historical support levels. The markets may well react against that, so I will be cautious as I'm close to these levels, especially if I'm looking at taking trades on the 4-hour and 1-hour time frame ahead of the market news. I am traditionally not too concerned with economic calendar events. However, when we get the higher profile events such as elections, usually there's some caution advised, because the markets can become incredibly volatile, and this is a topic that has been ongoing for 3 years now. So that is to bring you up to speed with regards to how the signals are produced with regards to these pairs, and also what the current technical outlook is with regards to this week's events. So thank you very much.